So I already made a few mistakes on this video, filmmaking mistakes, like I shot a lot of this B-roll in auto white balance by accident because I was in the subways last night, I was in the train, I was in a theater, and I just decided to keep the white balance as auto and figured I could fix it in post. And then I had auto white balance out here, and now I realized I wanted to set it at 5500 Kelvin. So it might look a little bit different, but I could probably fix it in post. The other mistake I made was that I am not filling the frame like you should fill the frame, but I'm actually doing it for a purpose, and it's actually not a mistake because I'm trying to show you how you could use cinematography sometimes to show how small we feel among the world, you know, how isolated or alone, like you can use this type of shot to feel insignificant, you know, to feel invisible. And that's what my film was based on. This is the end for me. And I wanted to talk about that film because last night was the final night of the Manhattan Film Festival. The Manhattan Film Festival. And, you know, it was an amazing experience because it was a night where they handed out awards. So first of all, I just want to say we're winners for the feature. You know, This Is the End for Me won a Best Feature Award, which is unbelievable to me. And to be honest with you, I went to that award ceremony because I knew that if there was a Best Original Score, that Steve Peckman was going to win, and I wanted to be there for him. But it turns out they didn't even give an award for Best Original Score. So I'm giving him Best Original Score. But here's the thing that happened last night. We saw a film, and it was called The Refugee. And I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. But you know, I probably saw 30 or 40 films over 10 days of this festival because I wanted to make sure I went out and saw what other people are doing, because you know, sometimes I get stuck all up inside of my own head. I have no idea what's going on out in the rest of the world. And I wanted to participate. I wanted to be there for these other filmmakers. I wanted to see what other people were doing, what they were trying to say. And I saw some great, really great work. You know, some really ambitious work. I mean, I'm not going to lie, a lot of the work I didn't like at all, but I can't really criticize it because they did it. You know what I mean? Like, they got themselves together and they did it. And it's not always going to be to everybody's liking or to everybody's standards or whatever. And so I'm not going to judge anybody's work. I think it was all beautiful, you know, and even though maybe I didn't like some of it, I could appreciate it. You know, I could appreciate what it takes because obviously I know what it takes to make a film and to finish it, to write a play, to produce it, to put it up, to finish it, to act in it. You know, I know what it's like. And so we saw this film, The Refugee, last night, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. It was a great script, great actors. It was really well shot, and it will just rip your heart out of your chest. But interestingly, I could find some flaws too, because some of the cinematography at the end wasn't consistent with the cinematography at the beginning, and also the message at the end was not in alignment with how I feel about certain things. And it just made me realize, like, that's okay, you know what I mean? Because it's art, because it's somebody else's expression. And I sat in this theater crying like a baby, even though I had some major problems with some of the film. But overall, I would have to say I would rate it magnificent, like a total win, like 10 out of 10. Because I don't criticize like with nitpicking, you know? But here's the most important thing that I got from it. The most important thing that I got from it was my movie, This Is the End for Me, is about suicide. That's really what it's about. It's about the struggle between suicide and resilience and like overcoming things and trying to find things in the world to make you not want to commit this tragic act. Tragic for you, but tragic for so many other people too, who know you, who might see you do it if you're out in the open. Like, that's what my movie is really about. I mean, you could say it's about adoption and foster care and my biological father and my biological mother and my search and my adoptive family, and you could say all of that, but really at the end of the day, that film became about suicide. And that's the headspace I was living inside of for 2 years, 2 full years. And, you know what I think I want to do? I want to move the camera closer because you see what this is like, but this part of the story is kind of intimate, and I think it's more appropriate if I move the camera. So I'm going to take a break for a second and move the camera, set it up, and talk to you about the rest of this reason that I love that film so much and what it did for me. So give me a second. All right, now we're pretty close. So, and by the way, I apologize for the light going up and down. I'm out here, it's cloudy, it's sunny, it's crazy. And also, well, I want to tell you this real quick. I'm sitting on a bench that I bought, a little stool that I bought that's collapsible. I'll show you the information in my description, but it's great if you want to shoot anywhere you go and you want to have something to sit on. It's like a great filmmaking tool, especially for YouTube. So I just wanted to mention that's what I'm sitting on. It's pretty cool. It twists it, collapses, and then it opens up. You can put it as high or as low as you want. It goes to about 2.5 feet. So back to the movie. So yeah, my movie is about suicide. And what I felt when I watched this film was it was about a young girl from Iraq. And they show this, they just set it up so beautifully. She's at her home with her family, her mother, her father, her brother. I would say she's probably about 10 years old at the time that this takes place. And they're in Iraq, and the father is praying with the family over dinner, and you hear bombs in the background. And with each prayer, you hear the bombs getting closer and closer. And then all of a sudden, somebody bursts into the house. And I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but basically what happens is the mother and the father are dead, and her little brother is dead. And there she is. And it's about a soldier who comes in, an American soldier who comes in and saves her life. She's bleeding. She would probably bleed to death. And he takes care of her. And then he goes back out to fight his war. And I don't want to tell you what happens after that because I'll ruin the film. Or actually, you know what? Take 30 seconds away from this if you don't want it to be ruined. But what I want to tell you, so 30 seconds, I'm giving you that now because here's a spoiler. So anyway, she winds up in America. She's living with her uncle. She does well. And she searches for this man who saved her life. She finds out he died, but she finds his wife and his child. And it's a beautiful film. So I'm assuming everybody's back now. So anyway, what this film did for me was, first of all, it showed me great filmmaking, which I really appreciated. And it gave me a lot of confidence, you know what I mean? Because I'm watching a film that had a gigantic crew, you know what I mean? Like, the credits were as long as my film practically. They had a lot of people working on this movie. And it was brilliantly done. It was beautiful. It was shot really well, like I said, and had a great story. And it just made me feel like, wow, I could do that all by myself. Like, it's crazy. But that's not even important, because what's important is that I really started to think about my own story and my own film. And see, that's what great storytelling does. It's like, I had a director once, my first director for my first play, Broke Wide Open, Stephen Bishop Seeley, who, this guy taught me how to be a theater artist. And he once said to me, you know, my first play, Broke Wide Open, was kind of a memoir piece. And he once said to me, you know, even though this story is all about you, it's not a good play until it's all about all of us. And at the time he told me that, I was like maybe 2 years into working on this thing, and I didn't really understand what he said. But over time, and continuing to keep that in my mind as I was writing every day for years, for like 5.5 years, I wrote every day. I worked on that script every single day. It finally became a universal story. And I understood what he said. Like, even though it was all about me, I had to make it relatable to everybody for it to be something that anybody would be interested in. It's not about doing therapy through your art. It's about engaging people and communicating with people, you know, and having an exchange, like a genuine exchange with somebody, and realizing that it ain't all about you. And so that's what happened to me last night. Like, I'm watching this film, and I see this girl who, you know, fought so hard for her life, you know, and then came to America and fought so hard for another life, like a completely new life, and her uncle, and people who have lived through unspeakable circumstances. And then I thought about people who commit suicide, and not to diminish mental illness or anything like that, but just personally for me, it just gave me a greater appreciation for my life and for my film. You know, it made me think about all the people that I know. Like, my film was really to honor some friends of mine who took their lives over the last 5 or 6 years, and there were too many of them. And every one of them had either adoption or foster care somehow attached to their lives. And it just made me think, like, you know, if every one of those people, I say something at the end of my film. It's pretty well known that 29 people were interviewed who attempted to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco to commit suicide. 29 people, there's a documentary about it. And of those 29, it is well documented that every single one of them regretted it the minute they jumped. Like the very second they jumped, they were like, what the fuck did I just do? And that's so interesting. Like they got to this point where they wanted to take their own life. And they regretted it immediately, as soon as they made that decision. And so it just made me think, like, art is so powerful, Art is so amazing, because I felt like if all of my friends had seen this film, they might not have taken their own lives, They might have had more empathy for other people around them and how that might have affected other people, and not just taking themselves out of pain. Because I think at the end of the day, suicide can be looked at as a very selfish act, And, I don't mean to judge it, because, I'm not here to talk about my own struggles, but I have had struggles similar to that. And yeah, I think it's all about you. You get all caught up inside of your own head. I think I used that phrase earlier for something, but you do. You get all up inside of your own shit, and you're not thinking about anybody else or anything else. And it's like the walls are closing in, and you kind of lose perspective, and you don't know what's going on. And so you just kind of maybe get to the point where you just want to end it. You're done. You're in pain. You can't see a light at the end of the tunnel. You can't see any happiness from this despair. And you can't see an answer. You don't know what to do. And so I watched this film and I felt completely differently. I was like, life is so precious. It's not to be taken for granted for even 1 millisecond of time. Like, you have to appreciate what you have, no matter what your circumstances are. You only get to live in this life one time. And life is so fleeting. Right before my mother died, she said to me, it's like a dream. Like, I remember the day we adopted you. I remember all the things you did as a kid. I remember all this stuff throughout my own life. It's like a dream. She was 80 years old when she died. And I think about that all the time. Like, yeah, it's like a dream. It just, and the older you get, the faster it goes. Those long summers that you experienced when you were a kid, suddenly it's just 1 month of rent. Second month of rent, summer's over. Like when you start to have to schedule things and lead a responsible life, life just flies by, For me as a performing artist, like as a solo theater artist, when I book a show, sometimes I'll book a show 2 years in advance. And that 2 years comes fast, because sometimes it takes a year or 2 or 3 or whatever to develop work. My film, it took 2 years to shoot my first film, 2 years to shoot the second film. The pandemic, 2020, was 4 years ago. And so this film was a great gift for me. You know what I mean? The Refugee was a great gift. I don't even know if that's how they think about it, but I felt like I received something so magnificent that made me appreciate life more. Not only appreciate this great art that they created, but appreciate my life. And then I looked around at all these other filmmakers, and, and then when my film was called to win an award as the last film of the night, all I could think about was the support that I've gotten from all these people for me as an independent artist over the years, as a playwright, a solo performing artist, as a theater artist, as a musician, and now as a filmmaker for the last 4 years. Like, I've gotten so much support as an independent artist from regular people, and I often complain about the fact that I don't have enough support and I don't have enough resources, but at the end of the day, I never let that stop me, because I firmly believe that if you have a story to tell, there's no excuses. You just do it. No matter what you need to do to get it done, you do that. You don't make excuses. You don't wait around for somebody to give you money. You don't wait for the best camera. You don't wait for the proper lenses. You don't wait for the right lighting. You don't wait for any of that. What you do is you devour other art. You go to museums and look at paintings. You study photographers. You study other films. You study life. You just look around. You look at the world in a different kind of way, and you think about, how am I going to express this story with what I have? You have to appreciate life. And so I'm incredibly grateful that I won this award, and I did it shooting all by myself with a Panasonic S5 for people here from the camera space. I shot with a Panasonic S5. I had a Minolta 28mm and Minolta 50mm, and that's it. That's it. And by the way, Luke Forsyth, the documentarian who's got a YouTube channel, he said something in a video that I watched recently that really made my head explode, because, you know, I'm always running around with these 2 lenses, or I have 2 anamorphic lenses, but I always wind up wanting to shoot with 28 millimeters. Somewhere between 28 and 35, but I could only have a 28 millimeter to express all of the art that I want to create with film. And he said something about how when you shoot with a wide angle lens as a documentarian, you're kind of more in the middle of it, because you can still see the world around somebody, but you could still get up close. But when you shoot with a longer lens, it's more cinematic. It's more like you're distanced from what's happening. You know, it's like you're more of a voyeur. And so that's an example of how somebody on YouTube really contributed to my work and my life. And what he was talking about was about lenses, but it was more about perspective, you know? So I say all this to say, we all inspire one another. Appreciate your life, appreciate what you have. Don't want for anything. And I'm so proud of the accomplishment that I made with this film, but I'm also so proud of Steve Peckman, the composer and arranger, who is my musical director, musical supervisor. He has never made it feel like he has any intention with my work other than attending to the work, making the story beautiful, you know, making the music appropriate to the story. We never talk about anything else, money, credit, you know, what's going to happen, like none of that. We talk about doing the work. And then when we finish, we think about the possibilities. Like maybe we could get on HBO, maybe it'll be on Netflix. Like the other day, maybe we can get in a big theater. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. The reason I'm out here today is that when I saw the film on a big screen at Cinema Village on 12th Street in Manhattan, down in Union Square, we saw it on this big, beautiful screen with a great sound system. First of all, I could finally hear things in the music that I couldn't even hear when I mixed it. Like, I mixed the music to the film. I did all the dialogue, I did all the editing, I did everything by myself. But I know how my speakers sound. I come from a pro audio background. So the way my thing is set up, I can't really feel the bottom, you know, the bass, the rich part of it. And in that theater, oh my God, it just was so dynamic and so powerful. It just gave me chills, you know. So I was so happy that I represented Steve's music well. And also, you know, this woman, JJ, came up and spoke after my film, talking about how she appreciated how I shot with wide angle lenses to show how small I was among this gigantic world, among these big bridges that I used and all these trees. And like, I shot myself small amongst huge things. And I didn't even notice how powerful that was until I saw it on a big screen. And I thought about what a tragedy that all we want to do these days is stream stuff. You know, my friend Trevor White, who is a big Hollywood producer, director, writer, all of it. He's a great filmmaker. He works with people like Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. Like, he's at the highest level, you know. I had a really small role in his film Jamesy Boy, which was actually about my friend James. And so anyway, Trevor once wrote me in an email. He goes, you know, it just kills me that we spend 20, 30, $50 million on these films. And I know that 80% of the people who receive this work are going to watch on their phones. And the other night, when I was looking at that big screen, and I could actually see myself amidst all these giant bridges and trees and these parks and all these waterfalls and the ocean and all these places that I went to, I thought, man, you did a great fucking job. You know, like, I was so proud of my cinematography and my choices and my vision, because it worked. But I also felt sad because I know 95% of the people who are going to watch my film, they're never going to see it in that way. It's not going to get a theatrical run unless it gets picked up by a studio or unless I get crazy support. But for all the festivals that I get into, that's the great opportunity to get to show my film the way it's supposed to be seen on a big screen. And also with a community, with other people around you, experiencing the same thing together. I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, that's the shit. Like, feeling other people's energy, hearing other people crying or trying to hold it back because they're not comfortable with, you know, expressing their feelings in public. Like, you know, that's why I love live theater so much. It's because of the energy. You know, it's because the people, you know, the exchange, this beautiful shared experience. There's nothing like that. And so, look, there's nothing wrong with chilling in Netflix and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a huge fan of HBO and Showtime and Amazon, and I devour films like that. But man, there's something very, very special about seeing a movie in a theater with other people, seeing a play live, you know, like that's why you can never capture a play on film. It just, no matter what you do, you can make something beautiful, but it will never, ever, ever feel like what it feels like in the theater. I guarantee you that. And I feel the same way about movies. Like, you know, I want to see Killers of the Flower Moon. And it was playing in a theater near me, but only for like 2 weeks. And I missed it. Now I got to watch it on my TV or my computer or whatever. I can't see it on a screen. And that just hurts me. You know, I'm so grateful that I've gotten to see, like, I think one of the reasons Cinema Paradiso made such a gigantic impression on me is because I saw it in a theater. And I saw it in an old, vintage, beautiful theater in Chicago, you know, around other people. And it was like the same theater as the cinema in the movie. And, you know, perhaps if I saw it on TV, I wouldn't even remember the movie, maybe. I mean, it was a beautiful story and one of the greatest, you know, marriages of cinema and, I mean, music and cinema. You know, I mean, but maybe I would have felt differently about it if I didn't see it like that. Like if I just saw it on my phone or on TV or, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm so grateful to the people at the Manhattan Film Festival. It was a great experience in my beloved New York City. It was so awesome. You know, my first film, The Center of Distance, we won all these awards, you know, we won so many laurels, but it was all virtual because of the pandemic and I never got to have this experience. And so this is my very first experience of seeing something that I created on a big screen. And if I was addicted before, I'm like, I am full-blown junkie now. Like I'm gone. I can't wait to make another film now. And I already have 3 screenplays and I have 2 theatrical scripts. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. But I know I'm going to make a movie, that's for sure. And I might do a play next year as well. But thank you to everybody involved in the Manhattan Film Festival, all the beautiful people that I met, the committed, dedicated artists who, you know, just like give their life to their filmmaking and their artistry. The guy who gave out the awards at the end of the night from the Manhattan Film Festival said something that was really, really profound. And he goes, you know, every year, they've done it for 18 years. He goes, every year, this is the most painful night for me because I can't give an award to everybody. I can't give an award to even the people who just submitted and didn't get into the festival because it is epic just to finish your film. And that is so true. So, yeah, it's epic to just finish. So, yeah. By the way, why did I come out here specifically to this place? Because this is a drive-in theater where I've always had a dream of seeing my film in a drive-in theater. Well, always had a dream the last 4 years since I started making film. But as you can see, this thing is like an accordion. You know, it's the coolest thing. So you just put it here, then you spin it up, and you can carry it with a little handle. It's great. It's amazing. It's got these little holes in it. Just spin it, boom. You can make it as high or as low as you want. So cool. So, yeah.